Welcome to the first segment of this 12-week coaching program. This is week 1 through 4. And what we're going to do is we're going to help you determine and understand your individual self. Like the scripture says, you have to clean out the inner vessel first. So that's what we're going to be focusing on, is cleaning out the inner vessel and really becoming aligned with ourselves and what we want. I cannot wait for the next 4 weeks, and I'm super excited. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to Emerge Coaching. I'm Jesse, one of your coaches here, and I am super excited for the journey you're about to take. This is going to be an absolute awesome learning opportunity for you to really dig deep into the feelings and the beliefs that you have, because realistically, what you are believing is what your reality is. And so I'm excited that you've taken this journey and that you've invested the time to learn more about yourself, so that you can unlock more potential opportunities as you continue to grow throughout your career and throughout your life. Most important is the things that you're learning in this course are also going to be able to be spread to other different areas of your life, like your family, your relationships, and you're going to feel different and experience more abundance in your life and less limiting doubts and beliefs. So wanted to, at first, as we jump into this program, I want to highly recommend purchasing a journal and having that journal to help you create and write down. You see, as you take an idea from your mind and you create it by writing it on paper, you're actually putting a plan in action. And by writing those emotions down, writing those feelings down that you're experiencing through this course, this will give you a blueprint of where you need to start, and it will also give you a past history of how far you've become throughout the course. So I highly recommend doing that. Take the creativity from your mind and translate it to paper, and you'll experience a lot of really cool opportunities throughout this course. You see, the problem is with human beings as society, we may even be saying that this is a cultural or just the way that we've been raised, is that when you ask someone what it is they want, they generally start to tell you all the things they don't want. And they'll tell you, oh, I don't want to be fat, for example, or I don't want this particular event to happen in my life. And what's interesting is if you ever go back and say, well, that wasn't my question, they look at you a little differently and go like, wait, what do you mean? And you can look at them again and say, no, the question is, what do you want? And I think that a lot of you, maybe you in particular going through this program, have experienced that in your lifetime, that you've started saying the things that you don't want as opposed to the things you truly want. Now the question is, what do you truly want? And that is the first week segment here that I'm excited to introduce to you. You see, the issue is when you don't know what you want, you may start to feel misaligned. You may feel like there's a part of you that wants to experience this, but then there's another part of you that isn't motivated by that experience. You may also notice that there's some frustration because you have no idea what it is that you truly desire, and you're looking for happiness, and that happiness isn't actually coming to you in the way that you thought it would. And it's because you're not specific and you don't know truly what you want. You're just making a decision based off of your past emotions and the past experiences you've had. Now, something interesting to consider there is when you live in the past or you make decisions based off the past, you're only going to get the same result. Think about what Einstein said about the definition of insanity. As you continue to make those same decisions of the past based off of the things that you feel and have experienced throughout your lifetime, you're only going to create what you've created in the past. So very interesting thing to think about. So I want you guys to imagine for a second this scenario. You're heading on a trip, and a lot of times you'd pull out your phone. But let's assume that you don't actually have your phone with you at this time. So you can't pull up that trip to get to that destination. Now, for some of you that are a little bit older, you would say, oh, that's fine. I'll pull out a map, or I'll go MapQuest it and print out the sheets. But let's say those resources are not available to you. What are you doing? Are you going to jump in your car and actually try to make it to that destination? And if so, what experiences are you going to find along the way? Obviously, it will take you longer to get to that destination. And in some cases, you may find yourself lost and turning around and going back. You may even find yourself saying, I actually don't want to go and leave at all because I don't have the plan on how to get there. Now, I want you to consider that for a moment with your life. Is that how you feel? And if that's the case, welcome to the Emerge program. So, I want to get into a little bit of the science behind this first. And as we get into the science behind it, these things will start to make a little bit more sense. Your mind has two parts to it. And those two parts are an unconscious mind, and the unconscious mind is the internal workings. It usually powers up all your organs. You don't remind yourself how to breathe. Your unconscious mind just does that for you. And then you have your conscious mind that is at the front end of everything. It's the thing that's making the decisions. It's experiencing the moment. And based off of your conscious mind, those decisions, those thoughts, those feelings, everything is coming to your reality. And so the best way to really describe the relationship of the two is your conscious mind is your CEO of your business. The CEO is the one that's making all the big decisions. It's the one that's steering and guiding the employees to the destination they want to go. Now, your unconscious mind is going to be the employees. Now, I want you to imagine something for a moment. Assuming that the CEO has a different trajectory than what he or she has been explaining to the employees, what is going to happen to that business? Most likely, there'll be misalignment. And we've seen that from time to time in businesses throughout history where the CEO takes the business on a different course and the employees don't capture the vision. Therefore, the CEO of the business is removed if it's the CEO's problem, or the business itself goes through financial turmoil until they can pick it back up and get back on track. And we see that happen with ourselves as well. I want you to imagine if what you're saying and what you're believing is something that is not actually what you want to become, your unconscious mind is working against what your conscious mind is trying to say. Now, something that's interesting about your unconscious mind, to go a little bit deeper, is that it does not understand negativity. So you can't, like, to negate something does not actually work with your unconscious mind. So imagine for a moment being in front of a mirror, and whatever you said, the mirror would provide, but the mirror could not understand the words do not. So an example would be if you looked in the mirror and you said, I do not want to be overweight, the mirror would only process and say, I want to be overweight. So you'd start to really change what you're saying in front of that mirror, right? I mean, you don't want to walk up to that mirror hypothetically and say, I don't want to be poor, because ultimately, you know that the mirror is going to come back and say, oh, Jesse wants to be poor. That's not the case. And so you have to understand what it is you truly want and start working towards it instead of working against the things you don't want, because your unconscious mind is very similar to this mirror. It will not process the negation. It will only help you work towards the things you want. So whatever you say in your mind is going to be the coming reality or the mirror image of what you're going to receive. It's kind of crazy to think about, but this is the science behind it. It actually works. So I want to get back to the CEO and talking about that a little bit more. So I want you to imagine an environment where your CEO is very specific in what he or she wants. And you, if you're the employee or if you're a business owner, I want you to imagine your business in the perfect form of the way you want to take it. If you're the employee or the CEO of the business and everyone is on a level that is of understanding, how much more are you going to be able to accomplish? If everyone's feeling confident in their roles and if everyone's experiencing satisfaction in the workplace, what does that do for your business? Obviously, that grows. And so it's extremely important for us to align our unconscious mind and our conscious mind together by providing the unconscious mind the things that we truly want so that we can work towards that very thing. If you start to find yourself saying, I don't want this, this, and this, you may actually find that those things that you don't want are starting to come into your reality because, once again, your unconscious mind does not process the words don't want. It only helps you provide the things you do want. So it's up to you on the conscious part of your brain to provide the landscape and the blueprint for your unconscious mind to start going to work. I have a funny story about this. So one of our clients in our program shared this with us and said that they were going on a vacation and they were going on this cruise. They planned the cruise and they only planned up to getting to the cruise. So everything went really smooth for this client. And then as they got onto the cruise ship, that was it. They kind of associated the idea of a cruise of like, let's not worry about anything and let's just go have fun. And so they get on the cruise ship. Now, a little bit more to the story, they actually had a family, like it was a huge family event. So it was in-laws, brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, all the fun things. And they wanted to create this epic family vacation. Ironically, though, as they got onto the ship, everything that was planned was really smooth. And then the minute they got on the ship, there was no plan in place at all. And so you had a lot of emotions involved at this point. You had some of the family members extremely hungry and others were not hungry. And then you had where at one point where everyone was hungry, but they couldn't decide where to eat. And because there wasn't a plan in place, there started to be little break-offs. Some people would go over to this restaurant, another group of people would go over to the buffet, and it really started to divide the family based off of this experience. And the reason why was because there wasn't a plan where everyone was on board. People just started taking over what they wanted to do. And although it was a fun trip, they found themselves dealing with a lot of emotional feelings involved with this because it was not laid out before everyone, and people were allowed to just start making adjustments based off of the moment. And for some, this would be okay, but for this particular client, he wanted this to be like an absolute awesome family experience. And as there was a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings involved, it was starting to become more of a headache. And he was questioning why he put this whole event together. Now, fast forward, after the food, they get off onto a port in Mexico and they're super excited to be there. And they realize that they haven't planned the activities or what they're going to do off the port. So once again, the whole family congregated together to discuss what it is they were going to do. And they spent an hour and a half at the porting station discussing it, wasting a lot of time, trying to figure out and make a plan on the fly. And at that point, everyone's feelings and emotions got involved. And before they knew it, some of the excursions that they decided on as a family to go do were actually already booked or they were already started. Therefore, they couldn't actually go and experience it. So there was a lot of stress and a lot of feelings behind that, once again, because as they could not determine the destination where they wanted to go, more people started to break off. And because of that break off, it created the family experience that this particular client admitted that he did not want. And ironically, he got exactly what he didn't want because that's what he was focusing on. Now, let's look at this from a different perspective. If he would have planned all the things down to the detail, it would have been a very easy experience for him and his family and the members of his family because it would have provided the opportunity for them to all just know exactly what to expect and everyone would be in unison working well together. So something interesting to consider. And some of you guys may have actually felt like this has happened. Maybe you as an individual felt that, this is exactly every family holiday, or this is anytime we do something as a family. And so I'm going to challenge you to ask yourself, are you working towards the things you want, or are you working towards the things that you don't want? And it's going to come back down to what you're saying. This is an extremely awesome opportunity in week 1 to understand this. And you'll notice that as you start working towards the things you want, things will become easier for you. And you'll start to realize more availability of the things you truly want and how easy and accessible that it can become. So I want you to ponder this now, is if you've experienced the same feelings, if you've experienced some of the same results as the client we shared a story about, I want you to consider, is this your life every single day? Are there parts of you that are feeling conflicted? Are you frustrated because you feel like you have more of a purpose, but you don't understand it? Or are you feeling very depressed at this point? And if the answer is yes, I'm super glad you're here. If the answer is no, great. But there's still things we can do to work on that. So this week's challenge is going to be an unlocking of the mind, unlocking of resources, really understanding what you as an individual want and the importance of understanding that. And so what we're going to do is challenge you to write down 100 things you want. If money was not an issue, take away all the factors. If money was not an issue, what do you want? And this is going to be different for everyone, which is super cool, right? Some of you may want vehicles or a home. You may want really cool watch. You may really want a pool or a hot tub. There's all sorts of different things. But I want you to really challenge yourself. This is not for anyone else but you. And this is a way to unlock your mind to more opportunities and more resources available. As you start to discover yourself throughout week 1, you're going to find things that may actually be conflicting with what you truly want. I encourage you to write those down in your journal and to discover those moments and those feelings. You may also feel like, oh yeah, I can totally do this, and feel really motivated. Write that down. Consider that for a moment. You could also consider the feelings of, oh man, I'm not good enough for this. That would be nice, but I don't know if that's for me. Write down those feelings, because we are discovering at this moment what it is that is resting unconsciously, what has been programmed in our minds throughout the years, similar to the breathing we talked about, what has been inserted into our unconscious mind and become so buried that it is now a program of the way we think and we believe. Once again, what you believe is the coming attraction of what you'll receive. So if you believe that you are not good enough for a certain item on this list, chances are you will never receive that item until you can get over that belief yourself. And so with this 100 wants, I want you to be ultra specific. If it's a car, what color? What color is the interior, the stitching? You could even go as far as asking yourself, what does it smell like when you jump in the car? Is it that new leather smell? Is it a nice cloth smell? Be very specific. The more specific you are and the things you want, the more you're allowing your unconscious mind to grasp onto those feelings and to help you work towards that. It's extremely important for you to work towards the things you truly want. So by discovering that and writing things down, you're going to find a sense of emotion and maybe even energy from these things to help motivate you. Now, you may experience this to be very easy for you, and you may already know the things you want, which is awesome. There's more to this program. But there may be some of you as well, maybe it's you, that is having a hard time coming up with 100 things. I'm going to challenge you to go to Google. I'm going to challenge you to go look online and to open up your mind. You see, if you knew all the things available to you in this world, it'd be very easy to write down 100 things. In fact, it might even be easier to write down 1,000 things, because you're aware of all the availability and the abundance that this world has to offer. However, if you're having a hard time coming up with 100 things, maybe you haven't experienced enough. And now is the time to start unlocking what it is you truly want. I remember going through this program, I decided that I really wanted to look into an at-home Coke machine. And as I was looking at that at-home Coke machine, my mind was blown away by the abundance of resources and things available. And I was extremely motivated when I found the Coke machine that I wanted. And I knew I had to have it. And so as I knew I had to have it, I started researching even more. And my mind was opened up to, all right, I need a bigger kitchen, or I need more space for the syrups. And as I got very specific, I knew exactly what I needed to do in order to go make that happen. And that was really, really cool and mind blowing experience. Another story, really quickly, is as you go through this, you're going to find that there may be ways to make money or ways to create having that thing that you've written down instantaneously. And that's really cool discovery as well. You may find that the motivation is too much for you to experience, that you have to go get that item. And I want to tell you a story about that from my personal experience. So I was writing these things down. I really, really wanted a Lamborghini. So I thought. And as I was going to the Lamborghini store, I went, I sat down, I wrote in the car, I told myself everything I wanted. Now, when we got to the dealership, they asked us up front, hey, what's your intentions with this car? And I asked, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, are you going to flip it? And my mind was blown at that very moment. I was literally told how I could make money in a different way and how other people are making money by a very simple question that was asked. You see, for those that know, you can flip luxury vehicles by ordering, getting the car, and the market at the time was high enough that by the time the car got out of production and onto the road, it was worth $40,000 to $80,000 more than what it was retail when you put the deposit down. So there was a way to make quite a bit of money on a car. Ironically, that challenged one of the beliefs I had, is that cars are a depreciating asset. Not anymore. My mind was absolutely blown at that. The other thing was they asked, how are we going to purchase this? Were we going to pay cash? Were we going to finance it or lease? And so being very curious, I asked, well, what is it like? How does the leasing terms work? What does that look like? Come to find out that the leasing terms were very different than the leasing terms on a normal vehicle. They had unlimited miles. They had longer terms. In some cases, they didn't even need to pull your credit. And the lease itself could actually go into your business name, and it wouldn't affect your debt to income, which for me was very important as I was acquiring more rental properties. And so by putting myself in that environment and writing down something I thought I wanted, it opened up my mind to more resources, more ways to make money, and I felt super empowered. I hadn't even purchased the Lamborghini at that time. In fact, as I went and looked at it, I decided that the Lamborghini didn't actually make the sense that I thought it would. I thought I wanted the Lamborghini, but we drew a conclusion and bought a McLaren instead. It was a really, really cool experience. But because I was working towards, in my mind, what I thought I wanted, I learned how to make more money. I learned more opportunities to get what I wanted quicker. And quite frankly, I felt more empowered, which is what this program's designed to do, is help you feel more empowered and confident in yourself and unlock more capabilities and understanding. So with that being said, the 100 wants, I want you to once again focus on it being for you. Don't focus on it for anyone else. If you want a Rolex, write down that you want a Rolex. Be very keen and focused on the feelings that are coming to your mind as you're writing these things down. If there's excitement tied to something, write it down in your journal. Hey, I'm super excited about this. This was really cool. I felt different here. If you feel an emotion of negativity, write that down tied to that specific emotion, because once again, we are going to go and focus on those reasons why you felt that way. And it may be an old program that just it doesn't fit your reality and what you truly want anymore. And if it's an old program and it's something that you want, you can't have the two. You have to focus on one or the other. Like the old proverb or scripture goes, you can't serve two masters. Well, you can't serve a belief and you can't serve the thing that you want if they're conflicting. So, super excited for week 1. Please upload your list of wants below. I'd love to see what it is you want. And I'd love to see what else you've discovered throughout this process. So upload some of your thoughts from your journal and put that in the notes as well so that we can see what it is that you're feeling. Obviously, if you're in our one-on-one coaching, this will only benefit you more and get more out of the one-on-one because it will allow us to really focus on those beliefs so that we can go back in and reinstall the new beliefs you want to feel. If you're on the online training platform, we will address these in different Zoom meetings, and we may even address these on our podcast as well. So please upload your feelings and your thoughts and your list of things you want and be very, very detailed. You guys, I'm super excited for week 2, and I'm excited for your journey here with Emerge Coaching. I hope you have a wonderful day.